winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. Have you ever wondered, what is it going to take for me to earn a promotion? Or how do I get that next rung up in the ladder? Well, you have tuned in to the right episode today because that's what we're going to cover. But before we do, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on your favorite platform. I want to give shout out to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push for sponsoring today's episode. Also, please be sure to check out his book, best-selling Amazon author Nick Menard, Mindset is My Degree. You can check it out in the description. Happy Monday, Nick.
Happy Monday, Will. Hello, winners.
Hey. So, sometimes people, they're like, oh, how do I get acknowledged? How do I get that promotion? I work hard. I feel like I'm doing the right things. And sometimes they may get stuck a bit. So any high-level thoughts before we head into our favorite segment?
Yes, I love this topic. Why? Because anywhere you go, work for a corporation, a business, anything like that, you want to grow. Oh, that's actually the mentality you should be having. But a lot of time people don't understand really the what is the most important and how to actually focus on what matters in order to be promoted instead of what you think the person needs to see. So I'm excited about talking about this topic.
Me too. Well, before we do, shall we start with
quotes and quips?
Here we go. First one is a quote, anonymous. Actually, they're both anonymous. All right. Master your current role, then start solving problems in the one that you want. Thoughts on that quote?
I love this quote. Why? I mentioned that pretty much before, but it's so important for anyone to understand where the number one priority, number one focus should be when you start in any kind of companies or organization. You've been hired to be successful on a certain role in order for the company, the business, the organization to be successful. So even though when you work for a large organization, you will have a million of things happening around your role because it's such a big organization. And it's easy to get lost into what you may be able to do because you have so many options. So you may be distracted from your number one priority, which is whatever role you have in the organization, and you try to be implementing things outside your role to build your brand, which is fine. But only do that once you master your number one priority, which is what you've been hired for. And I truly believe so. We see so many times people trying to be seen everywhere, but forget that their number one priority is not done on a high level. So unless that is the case, I would never push an associate, up who is doing a million things average or good. I'd much rather have the person be excellent in their role and then help the rest while being promoted.
Totally agree. And that leads right into our quip. So very related. So, keeping in mind, like Nick had said, master your current role, the quip, anonymous, is if you're always saying, that's not my job, don't be surprised when the job you want goes to someone else. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. Go above and beyond. But again, you can go above and beyond in your role to be even better, depending, which organization you're working for. I've been working, for a couple of businesses, a couple of organizations in my career, and it's all very different, but some are sharing, rankings. Mm-hmm. So when you see where you rank, if you are not ranking in the top 10% of whatever your role you're doing in sales, in service, in anything you're doing, you should be striving to get there. If you are in the middle and you feel comfortable being in the middle, don't ever expect a promotion in my view. All right. So yeah, you may be good enough average to keep your job for a long time, but it doesn't mean that, the company needs to promote you. Mm. It doesn't mean that you are, you have a chance for progression in your career because you are average and you're happy being average.
Mhm.
All right. So you may be just above the thresholds for to being in danger of an eventual, like termination, but you are not putting the effort to get better at your craft. So don't be surprised when someone who starts 2 years after you, who is actually not happy being average and doing the right thing to be top performer and then be consistently top performer, that a person like that will go above. I'm never being high on people, seeking promotion because of tenure.
Oh, yeah, no.
And so that would be my feedback based on the quip.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think, if you don't work for an organization where it's very clear where you stack rank, then you got to have a candid conversation with who you're reporting to and be like, do you think I'm ready? If I'm not ready, what are a few things that you think I need to work on? And can you give me some tips on how I can cultivate those skills? Or what do you need to see in order for me to prove that I'm developing those skills and having those conversations? And, that will certainly help. And I think, to your point, you have to show initiative. So if it's within the scope of your work, and let's say somebody's trying to get you to do something additional within the scope of the work, instead of just saying no, a better answer would be, well, here's what I'm currently working on. Where should this item fit in that prioritization? Put it back on the person assigning you the work, and then they can stack rank it. And sometimes they may be like, no, this is urgent. It needs to go to the top of the stack. Okay, great. That means these other things are going to take a little longer, right? Yes, great. Now you have a social contract. You can prioritize that thing and not feel like you're going to be held against if some of those other things take a little longer. Or sometimes I've seen this where the person's like, no, those other things are actually higher priority. I'll find someone else to do that. But you didn't say no, right? You're just like, where does this fit in the prioritization? Shifts. It's a nuanced shift in the conversation, and it doesn't make you look like you have a fixed mindset. It's just, hey, how do I have this prioritized based on what you want, Mr. and Mrs. Box. So think of it that way.
I love the way you phrase it as usual. It's probably, yeah. I envy, what's that? Envy you a lot based on the way you were able to communicate and formulate things. And I'm like, oh, I should have said those words. But anyway,
Between the both of us, we cover the whole spectrum.
I know, but I love the word prioritization in this case. And I, as a leader myself, I would never have a problem if someone, who has a specific role and a specific goal to attain by a certain time, tell me, maybe not no with no added, information, but like you said, I'm happy to, but then I may not be able to accomplish what I need to accomplish. I will always say, and I even say that to my team nonstop, don't hesitate to say no if it's impedes you to be successful in the role that you are paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say no and you are average and you don't do anything to improve that average, then I may have a problem if I ask to do something supplement,
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the why and the how. But when you are a leader in a leadership team, the people who are actually doing the right thing and go above and beyond and try to be excelling in their role. And people who are actually lacking and be trying to hide the flaws in order to, those are usually those who speak the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, it's important to really understand your team dynamic and then your individualities to see where the focus should be, I think, in this conjunction. But priorities is huge. So unless you're done and you can fit everything that needs to be done for your primary role, pay attention in what you accept. Because once you accept, you say yes to something, you're still expecting to do this.
Yeah.
And so if you're not doing that thing that needs to be done first and you commit for something else, then you are literally, the eyeballs will be on you for both.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you cannot fit that into your calendar, into your schedule, I would have no problem personally if you come to me and said, I don't feel comfortable being all of this because I may have to squeeze too much of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So be vocal. And if you work for a leader, they will understand and they know what you're doing, and they will give you the time to actually accomplish it before getting you something different.
Yeah, totally, 100%. And when you were sharing that, it brought in my mind a situation when I first started at the organization I'm at now, when I started in the client facing role. And what this is going to share is about the growth mindset and being a victor on the rings of accountability versus being a victim. So when I got hired, um, our organization assigns us a mentor, right? And my mentor is not located in the same geography I was. So I get on the phone, we're talking to him about 15 minutes, having a good chat. And he's like, "Oh, you got this. You don't need any more of my help." Click, hangs up. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like the topic that they hired me to talk about, I had no previous experience in. And obviously I was in sales before. So, there's certain questions you can ask without subject matter expertise, but I panicked. I'm like, oh my gosh. Now I could have got sour and said, "Oh, this company, the training, blah. Oh, they don't set up for." I could have took any kind of negative path that would have soured me, and I probably would have not done well, and probably would have got fired. Right? Excuse-itis, whatever. Instead, at the time, we used to have the stack ranks posted, but my business unit did not do that. But the business unit, quote unquote, next door, which was a similar role, just they serviced a different product, did do that. So I walked over to the aisle. I'm like, who are the top 5 names? Saw those 5 people, sent them each an email, say, "Hey, I would love if I could just shadow one of your calls if you don't mind and take some notes." Every single one said yes. I joined those calls and I'm like, ooh, they're good. Like
That's why they're
some
the top.
great questions. Yeah. And I was, I thought, I'm coming in, I'm like, oh, this will be cake. No, I was like, no, I'm going to have to up my game. So it was perfect. But I got the training I needed. I just had to take ownership of finding people who were willing to help, but you can usually always find people who are willing to help. But to your point, you have to take the bull by the horns. Like if you're going to sit back and wait for everything to come to you, usually the only thing that ends up coming is problems. But if you're proactive and you can take ownership of, okay, I'm here, how do I get to here? And don't worry about boiling the ocean. Like if you're average at something, you're not going to be at an expert level overnight. Focus on incremental gains. How do I get to 1% better? How do I get a little bit better on the next call? I'm going to try to focus on this. Whether it's a prospect, a sales call, a service call, whatever it is, internal collaboration, you're in a finance role or whatever it may be. Like, how do I incorporate and inject some things that would elevate and test my skills and augment my skills, focus on the next interaction. And over time, you'll find you have exponential growth. And then you'll be in a situation like you're saying. Now you're known as somebody who's a top performer. Now people are looking to you and thinking, hey, this person has a really good ceiling. They could maybe contribute in greater ways. We should maybe consider giving them the next role promotion, so on and so forth.
Love it. Initiative. Take initiative. Don't wait for things to come to you. Be proactive, like you mentioned. Like take ownership. I love all of this, and it's something that resonates very much with me as well. In the same company that I'm at currently, the same as yours. That's how I started. I spoke very even worse English than today, and and I was like literally okay. I don't know nothing about the topic of conversation either, and I'm like I need to have to jump on a call with a C-level executive. What am I gonna do? And fortunately, I had an amazing mentor. She was a top performer, which a mentor should be, and literally that's something we discussed in the previous episode as well on the Mindset Monday. Even if you have a mentor yourself or you've been assigned a mentor, it doesn't mean that you cannot reach out to more people. And when you're in an organization who have like visibility on who are top performers, just like you said, put time in their calendar and learn from the best. And that's where you will probably get the best advice. And now you just have to monkey see, monkey do. You just do it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel until you are successful. When you're successful, that's where you tweak to get even better and become a mentor and become someone that can actually influence you positively. But don't wait. And again, that's the quip, like, don't wait because you're happy to be average. Like, find out solution yourself. Maybe your mentor was not what you expected, but you took initiative to get better, and you probably got a lot more from all those people than from one person anyway. So yes, definitely doing something like that would help. And it's all about, the topic of this conversation is how to position yourself for promotion. So be great at what you are being, hired for, and then build your brand with your peer, your partners, your colleagues, whatever you want to call them. You just build that strong, foundation with others about who are you, or how you want to be perceived. Always something that a mentor told me like 20 years ago, like, try to build something the way that you want someone to talk about you, and again, you don't need to be liked or be best friend with everybody, but even if you may not be, liked by everybody in the business unit or in the company, nobody can point a finger at you and said you are not performing the way you should. And that's the way I look at myself. I may have a more direct approach in a lot of things, so it's not always going the right way for everybody around me, which is okay. But nobody can ever say, well, Nick didn't perform or Nick's team didn't perform, because that's something that numbers don't lie, for years. And so that's definitely something that I wanted to add. And one more thing I will say before we before I let you talk about what you think or so, say, make the life of your boss easy. And that's something I cannot say enough. And I know you say the same thing, but it's something that it's, who higher you grow in leadership, who more it becomes true, because you have more and more responsibilities, and you have more and more, leaders reporting to you as a senior leader in this case. And it's so good when you know that this part of the business I do not need to worry about. Doesn't mean that I don't need to work with, I don't need to coach, I don't need to do the development plan to help that person go to the next level. But business-wise, I do not need to worry, because whatever number will come, I know that I did everything and more to make this work. So I can work more with people who are struggling more, while continuing to developing the great people. And I think that it's something that you need to always keep in mind. Does my boss worry about me, yes or not? If it's a yes, do whatever it takes by asking question. Go to your manager, to your director, leader, VP, whatever. Go and ask, what do you need from me in order for you to not have to worry about my part of the business? They will tell you.
Oh yeah,
they will tell you.
Yeah.
Like, and then show them that you are acting on the response of your superior, your boss, and they will love that. And then when the numbers follows, you're gonna get a little bit more, leg room. So I think that it's something that's very important. You want to get to the next level, make sure that your boss don't have to worry about you, and you will be remembered when the time is there to actually put a business case for promotion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think to build on a nuance of what you're saying about the asking questions, I think there's this old adage, there's never a bad question. And I disagree with that, because you want people to have curiosity, and you want people to ask, and it's okay to make mistakes and learn. And so I would say most questions are good questions. But if your question is a basic question where you just need to spend 3 minutes to try to surf on your internet or surf online to find the answer, be attuned to what may be a trivial question versus a legit, hey, I can't find the information question. And if you're not sure, just say, hey, here is my question. If you think it may be perceived as trivia, trivial. I tried looking on the internet. I tried doing this and that. I couldn't find it. Would you recommend I go somewhere else, or where else could I find the information, or do you know? Because if you just come with a trivial question and you didn't research it, or you didn't articulate where you looked for it, I'm going to be looking like, all right, this person is just, they're not putting in any critical thinking. They're not putting in any effort to try things out, because having a solution oriented mindset, I think a lot of people in leadership positions would find attractive for people, because it goes back to what they're saying. It makes their job easier. Then I know if somebody's coming to me with a question, and they typically are very solution oriented and find it, like, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Of course, I'm going to be able to help, and I'll always help somebody. But it's like, okay, is this person not really putting forth the effort or first, or are they putting forth the effort? And that sticks in my head.
I love that, because that's something we rarely hear. There are some bad questions, or not bad question, but no, maybe not the right person to ask.
Yeah.
Because you have peers. And again, if you bother your peers all day about question like that, that may not be good as well. But like you said, search yourself, but also ask your peers. And of course, you will have a negative brand, if all you do all day is asking the same question to 75 people, because some people are like that. So don't do that neither. But yes, I agree. Like, think about who you ask the question to, and pay attention about that. Because if you keep going to your mentor nonstop, or your boss nonstop about every single detail, every time that a situation arises, just figure it out yourself. And usually, unless you are a surgeon, usually you can fix it.
Yeah.
So you can literally look for that. So I agree, and I totally love this idea.
Yeah, I mean, it just, just show you put a little effort. Take a few minutes before you just blast out the question. I think another thing, and you mentioned this a little earlier, I do think networking is important, and I think I shared this before, but I'll share it quickly just in case they didn't hear it in a previous episode. But when I was in a client-facing role and I was aspiring to move into leadership at the current organization I was with, I went into my role with the mindset of, I'm heads down, I'll focus on my work, I'll do high-quality work that will speak for itself. That I have found does not work as often as I thought it would. I think you need to make sure you have visibility and exposure to your brand. And what really saved me is there was somebody who was in a different business unit. She found out I was from Wisconsin and a Packers fan. She was from Wisconsin. Hey, we stayed together. She went to Marquette, played women's basketball, and there were a couple of leadership positions open. And, it's just funny. You strike up conversations and you find commonality. Anyway, they had a couple of leadership positions open, and she came to me. She's like, "Why didn't you apply?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm waiting for something open up in this group that I'm with, because I'm really passionate about it." And she's like, "Go talk to the senior leader at the time and just have a conversation." I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, you just work it out and I'll chat." And I spoke to him, and he said, "Hey, if you have a passion for leadership and coaching, anybody can learn a different deliverable. You should go for it." And that's how I got into that role. I was fortunate enough to earn one of those opportunities, but I would have missed out on it had somebody not tapped me on the shoulder. And it was somebody who wasn't in my business unit, but we got to striking, but getting a coffee or something, and found out we had something in common, and just started talking on a regular basis. And she looked out for me and made all the difference.
I love that. So it's a very good point, and I will tweak it a little bit because we're already coming up to the end. The networking aspect and building the brain, which you mentioned a lot, coming back into the topic of this episode, which is how to increase your chance to earn the rights for promotion. Go to your leader and ask him or her, okay, who should I be talking to in order to be able to improve in what we discussed is something that I should be improving in order to earn the right to apply for XYZ promotion. Leaders will like that because you take initiatives to come. You just wait. You don't wait and see and then be mad when this is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So But if you do that, and your manager, director, VP, or whatever is coming to you and said, okay, well, I would strongly suggest you to talk to this person because of, like person X because of collaboration, person Y because of I don't know, something else, like how to close faster, like, or better, a higher rate of closing or something like that. So go have those conversations, put time in their calendar, and then go back to whoever your leader is and said, hey, Will, thank you so much for the recommendation to talk to XYZ. I did talk to them the last couple of weeks, and here's what I'm going to implement moving forward based on that. So here's 1 or 2 bullet points. You don't have to write a book. 1 or 2 bullet points per person. Thank you again so much for recommending talking to those people. Your name, if you are great at your role, your name will be a lot higher in that person's mind when it's time to build business cases for promotions. So, again, it's just do the right thing, by asking, by be proactive, like you mentioned in the beginning, and then a lot more will come back. Maybe not at the timing you want. And also something, ask. So what would be a good timing for me to be able to maybe go to the next level? You will probably not get an answer by April 1st, but hey, Q2 is reasonable. Again, depending the size of the organization, it may be also a lot of different factors like finance and others, but at least you have a pathway to go. And I guarantee you, the leader, if they see that you do everything that has been asked from you, and there's no possibility for promotion, your leader will talk to you about it, the why. And then continue to be positive, consistent in what you do. Time will come. No, not always when you want, but time will come. And that's at the end of the day, the most important.
Yeah. So we covered 2 big rocks, be great at your job and make your boss's job easier, and then network, build your brand, showcase how you're learning it. I would say the third one, just in the time we have left, is the third leg of the stool would be have advocates in your corner. And that could be feedback from clients about your service or your interaction with them. It could be feedback from internal partners. Some organizations have like formal 360 feedback type programs, but if your organization doesn't have that, you seek it out. Like, say, if you're collaborating with somebody internally and it went really well, say, hey, would you mind just, sending a quick email or something about how this was beneficial, or send with the client, get the voice of the client and something, so that when you go to the interview, and that's something we should probably talk about someday in the episode, is like how to interview well. But when you go to the interview, it's one thing for you to showcase what you do. But personally, I'm always on guard against who I call interview warriors. People who interview great, but when you dig beneath the surface, but when you have something like that, a bunch of feedback from clients, internal partners, prospects, that carries a lot of weight too. And it's like, okay, it's not just them telling me to do it. Here's proof, from others.
Love it. Perfect. Well, I hope it was useful, winners. It was a fun episode to talk about, because who doesn't want to be promoted?
Yeah.
So
you get paid more for doing the same job at the very least. That's always a good thing too.
Absolutely. So we're excited to hear feedback based on this episode. And if you have any kind of stories to tell or experience to share, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, please do. And so that'll wrap it up for today's episode. So thanks again for tuning in for 2 for the Win. Please be sure you're following us on your favorite platform. And thanks again to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push and Mindset is My Degree by Nick Menard, Amazon bestseller, for sponsoring today's episode. That'll wrap up today's edition of Monday Mindset. We will see you next Monday, winners.
Bye, winners.